Hey everyone, I am your astrologer Wonder Girl, taking you to new heights. This is your forecast for the new moon solar eclipse in Cancer happening on July 2nd, 2019 at 3:15 p.m. Eastern Time or 12:15 p.m. Pacific Time. Now what this new moon solar eclipse is all about, really, I think, is new emotional chapters. We're really trying to feel differently from the inside out about our life so that we can build our life in an entirely new foundation. I really wish I could tell you that it was going to be easy and graceful and we're going to leap and dance and twirl into these new emotional chapters, but I feel like we're going to have to fight for them, fight for our emotions, fight for what we're feeling so that we can make sure, defend our hearts and souls and make sure that we're standing strong in our power, all right? So that's what I'm going to talk about today. If you like what you hear in this video, please keep in mind that I do offer daily inspiration, daily horoscopes, and even videos for the week on my new subscription service. If you're interested in getting more inspiration and insight from me astrologically with the charts on the screen, then please click that down below in the description box. Also, I do plan to have an update very soon. It's not going to be a live webinar like I usually do. It will be a pre-recorded video on the month of July, also coming up as well, where I go into detail about the big alignments of this next huge, groundbreaking, earth-shaking month with these two eclipses. So be on the lookout for that. Again, you can find that at the link down below on my website. Now let's go ahead and get started. What I always like to start with here is to identify the new moon solar eclipse on the chart. Here it is right here. How do I know that this is a new moon? I know that it's a new moon because we've got the sun and the moon here together at the same degrees. How do I know that this is an eclipse? I know that it's an eclipse because we've got the sun and moon hanging out right here to this thing, the north node, okay? And that's what makes an eclipse an eclipse. This one in particular is a total eclipse. It's a total eclipse because the sun and the moon are only about 7 degrees away from the north node. And the north node is an imaginary thing and space that basically tells you where eclipses are, where the sun, the moon, and the earth all line up together. All right, so that's where we are, new moon solar eclipse. Now, what does this mean? Not just how to identify it on a chart, but what does it mean? Well, new moons to me have a lot to do with new beginnings, fresh energy, starting things. Solar eclipses here, the being on the north node, then takes these new beginnings and kind of magnifies them and makes them bigger, more powerful, more meaningful, more life-changing, and a lot more long-lasting than our typical new moon would be. So there can definitely be some big fated events that can occur at this time, especially new beginnings, to help, especially with the north node being our purpose, to help push us forward more and more and more to live our purpose. Now, what is our purpose at this time with this new moon solar eclipse? Our purpose with this new moon here being in Cancer, Cancer has to do with our emotions. It also has to do with home and family, personal and private matters. So our purpose here is to go inward, not publicly. This is not about outward things happening outwardly, but it's to go inward, to get right with our souls, to get right with our emotions, to figure out what it is that we're feeling, and you start to finally begin to create more of a life honoring our emotions, okay? Honoring what we need in order to feel at home, more at peace, and more comfortable in our own selves, okay? So that to me is what this is all about. Could you also get a lot of things going on with home and family? You moving home, you doing new things with family? Yes, it could, because Cancer is the sign of home and family if I wanted to use it in a practical sense. So this could be huge life-changing decisions during the next year or two while the north node's in Cancer about home or family that this could then bring into focus. Where you live, who you live with, how you deal with family members. But I really want to focus instead of that on more of the emotional component. All right, that's why Cancer relates not only to home and family, but to your emotions, because a lot of times your home and family you feel very personal about. It's very core to your being. It's your private life. So I'm going to use this as a time to talk about what's going on with your emotions, new emotional chapters. Another reason why it might be hard for me to talk so much about new homes and about new families and about moving in all these big ways is because not only do I like to think bigger and a little bit more abstract instead of the practical stuff, but also because we're in the middle of a major transition. We still have Saturn and Pluto come in conjunct here. Saturn and Pluto are retrograde, Jupiter's retrograde, Neptune's retrograde, Mercury's about to go retrograde very soon. So that's why there's a part of me that wants to talk about you moving home, but there's a part of me that believes even if you are moving home, that there is possible that you may move your home again at the next eclipse in Cancer, coming a year from now, or that there may be a lot of details that need to be worked out. All right, that can make it hard for me to talk about things in a practical sense. So that's why I'm gonna go more abstract. I think we're trying here to really have new emotional responses, build our life on a new foundation, not outwardly, but inwardly, to see ourselves from the inside out differently. I think it's positive being on the North Node. However, even though this new moon solar eclipse on the North Node is pointing the way to our future, which is to honor our soul, it's got challenges. The reason why it has challenges is because this new moon in Cancer is opposing this Saturn and Pluto mess that's been going on for a long time, for most of this year. This new moon solar eclipse in Cancer is also making a square over here to Chiron and Aries. So this could bring up some challenges. I want to be a new person. Cancer has a lot to do with who we are from the inside out. I want to experience life in a different way. I want to feel very different about my life emotionally. I want to feel better about my life finally, especially with all these things going in Capricorn. You know, the past however many years, 9 years, I guess you could say, which was when the nodes were in the opposite places. The past 9 years ago could have been very hard. We could feel dead inside. We could feel challenged. And I think this new moon solar eclipse in Cancer, we're saying I no longer want to feel dead inside anymore. I really want to move forward into new chapters. I want to enjoy life. Mercury and Leo, I want to be happy again. And I want to be sensitive again, and I want to get my needs met that I need, instead of having to sacrifice my needs to take all these responsibilities on. And I think it's hard because we still have some things around from the past that we're still trying to get rid of, that we're still trying to make sense of. We still have karmic things bringing us down. So it's one of those things. It's like, I just want to move into a brand new future, a brand new life in which I feel better, but I'm frustrated because I have things from the past still hanging around. I have things that are still hard on me from the past. I have things I'm still emotional about from the past and from old situations that are taking forever to fix. Saturn slows things down. It's taken a really long time for me to get there. And not only that, but I don't know how to do things with the square to Chiron. I don't know how to do things to overcome this stuff from the past that's lingering around that won't leave. And I've been trying to do things, and I don't know how to do things to get rid of these. And I don't know. And so I think there's a lot of this frustration here. How do I move forward? How do I create a life that I really want, that I really feel good in, when there's so many other things building up against me for years and when I don't know what I'm doing? And I think this new moon, especially because it's a solar eclipse in Cancer, is saying, you got to figure this out. You got to figure this out. And it's not just saying that, it's encouraging us. It's giving us the emotional wherewithal to say, I don't care what it takes. I don't care how long it's going to take. I don't care what I got to do. It's helping us to prioritize our emotions, and you start to put in, I don't want to say start. We've been doing this for a while, but to commit even more, digging our teeth in to figuring these things out, and to say, you know what, I got to get over the past. I got to make the hard choices. I got to continue to make the choices that I need to put my emotions first, especially oppositions. You got the sun, you got this new moon opposite Saturn and Pluto, so that's going to bring choices. We still have some hard choices we need to make about the past so that we can still, again and again and again and again, overcome the past in order to move forward. And I think at this new moon solar eclipse, we're saying, I got to do it. If I'm ever going to be happy, I'm going to give it a last fighting chance, you know, a last fighting chance. Maybe that's what I want to encourage for some of you all, because some of you all may have just been like, the past few years have been so hard and I want to give up, and these things aren't budging. You know, that's how I feel about this new moon solar eclipse. It's like, man, really about the astrology. It's like, I just want to be happy and live a good life, and nothing's coming. And I want to encourage you on this solar, give it one last chance, one last ditch effort for another 6 months. Like, that's all it's going to take. You can do it for 6 months, you know, because things are going to start to change big time come next January. Saturn and Pluto is going to come exact. Things are going to start moving very fast. And this new moon, to me, solar eclipse, is saying, if your happiness is worth it, and it is, if enjoying life is really worth it, then you have to fight for your happiness, and you can't be afraid, and you can't back down. And I like to think this solar eclipse is giving you the courage to say, if I gotta make hard choices, I gotta make hard choices, and I'm no longer gonna be afraid to make those choices. and to say, Mercury and Leo, what's on my heart, to speak my truth, to speak with authenticity and vulnerability about what my soul needs in order to feel better. And I'm not going to give up because I'm worth it and because it's been long enough. And I think that's what we're starting to do. And I think if you cannot be afraid to hold tight and to say, I'm going to give it another 6 months and I'm going to fight for my happiness and I'm going to fight for what my soul needs, then I think by the end of this, you're going to start to feel like, wow, I'm finally overcoming all these old things I thought I would never overcome. You know, there could have been hard situations for years, that we never thought would be fixed. And these next 6 months are going to fix those things. They're going to fix those things in your life that you got all these bad attachments to, karmically, emotionally, one way, financially, you know, one way or the other. It's going to fix these things and it's going to help you move on. And this is the moment where you say, I'm taking a stand in my life. I'm not going to be a bystander. I'm not going to be a passive person. I'm going to do what I need to move forward. You know, maybe a lot of people think of Cancer as being passive because of the shell and it's so emotional, but Cancer is a cardinal sign. What do cardinal signs do? They do things, they start things, they make things happen. So this new moon solar eclipse is saying, I'm not being a passive person in my life. I am going to do what it takes in order to protect my needs, get my own needs met, and have my own well-being taken care of. All right. And to defend the work that I've done. Especially to me, Cancer, because it rules the cat with the crab, the shell has a lot to do with defense. I think there's a part of us too that's not only saying I'm going to do what it takes to make new emotional chapters in my life that are way better for me manifest no matter what it takes, but I think there's also another part of us saying, because I've worked so damn hard to have this not come together. You know, I've worked so hard, especially since April, the past few months, to create different situations for myself. Not only do I have to make sure that I keep getting what my soul and heart wants and needs, but I have to make sure that I defend the progress that I've made so far so that I don't lose the grip on it. And now's the time where we're going to kick things to the curb. I wish I could tell you things were going to go fast, and I think things are moving. You know, the North Node to me indicates progress, future momentum. I think things are moving forward, but Saturn and Pluto are slowing them down. So it's like we're moving fast, but we're moving slow. And I really wish I could tell you in these next few months things are going to pop. And I think they are. You know, when a lot of planets come out of retrograde in September, October, but I think it's not going to be until next January when Saturn and Pluto passes that things are going to move fast. And I'm telling you, spend the next 6 months buckling down and it's going to pay off, even if it's hard. All right. So that's what we've got going on there. Part of the reason why, I guess I already kind of talked about this before, but I think if you can commit to getting your emotional needs met and to listening to your soul and what your soul needs, then that's going to help you here with Mercury and Leo in a conjunction with Mars to communicate about your passions, to communicate about your heart, and to take risks. I don't know if I want to say take actual risks, especially because Mercury is going to go retrograde, but I think we may finally be verbalizing what we're feeling in more of a risky fashion. To say, hey, this is what my soul needs in order to be happy. I haven't told you this. I've been afraid to tell you this. Or I haven't told you this because there's been so many other heavy things in my life been going on that I've been unsure about. But now that I'm really serious about me feeling better, now we're going to speak with more boldness, take more risks with our communication so that people understand truly and more authentically who we really are and not just fake. So they don't understand the fake us, or they don't understand the pretend version of us, but so that they see the real part of us. And with this Mars and Mercury, we're not playing around. Sometimes it can bring arguments. Mars and Mercury, typical for that. Mars and Mercury have been with each other for like the past month. So it could have been arguments earlier in the month, could be arguments now. But to me, with Mars being in a much better spot, Mars doesn't like Cancer, now Mars and Leo. With Mars being in a much better spot in Leo, I like to think these aren't going to be arguments, even though what our soul needs to make us happy could conflict with other people and they may not want to hear it. But I think this is going to be passion. I think this is finally our passion going to come back, where we're going to start to speak not only sensitively about what our soul needs, authentically, but we're also going to start to speak with more liveliness, with more passion, and with more boldness so that we can be understood and get those things taken care of. All right. We may not have all the things that we need to be happy because Mars still has to go through all of Leo, and because Mercury is going to go retrograde very soon, which is another thing that makes this eclipse very frustrating. We're going forward, new beginnings, solar eclipse, major new beginnings. Mercury retrograde right after, you know? It's like constantly, in order for us to get to where we want to be, we have to constantly clean out the past and get people on board. And I think that's what starts to happen with this Mercury conjunct Mars, is we begin to start the process of saying, hey, my soul's needs haven't been met for years. Not 4 years, but literally for like a lot of years. Like could have been 9 years since the last time, could have been 35 years because that's how long Saturn and Pluto takes. But I think there's a part of us, it's like my soul's needs have not been met in years. And now I have to start the process of speaking boldly and fearlessly about what my soul needs so that I have a chance. I have a little bit of a chance at actually getting those needs met. And I think they're going to come out. I think it's a longer process to actually being happy. It's a longer process to actually getting everyone else on board with what your soul needs so you can enjoy life again. But we're beginning to get there. and we're beginning to have the conversations that can lay the foundation and the framework right now for what we ultimately want 6 months from now or even longer, and what we'll need to be happy. Okay, so that's what I see going on there. With Mercury and Mars also coming into the square with Uranus, it could also be things happening unexpectedly too. It could bring up sudden events, unexpected events, or it could also bring up sudden and unexpected insights too, and news that could come to you. It could be a little bit jarring, especially with Mercury and Mars here also in a trine to Chiron, these unexpected things that come up. But I feel like we're at that point in the year where we're like, I've been trying with the Saturn Pluto stuff, I've been trying for so long to create a life that I want. Why is this so hard? Why don't you understand? Why hasn't this person budged? Why hasn't this thing budged? Why hasn't this thing moved? And I think we're at the point where we're like, this is enough. I've had enough. I've had enough of playing everyone else's game. I've had enough of doing all of these things that don't resonate with me. I'm done. I'm done. And I think what we're saying here is I got to make choices once and for all to move on. And I got to speak once and for all about what my heart needs so that I can ever get to where I want to go. And I think we're frustrated from the past, and we're doing things unexpectedly because we're so frustrated and because we're trying to break free. Again, could trigger some people because some people may not realize that this is going on in others. Maybe some other people don't want to change. Could also feel a little bit vulnerable too. You may be afraid to speak, afraid to say these things. We've been ignoring our heart and our soul and our spirit for decades, so of course it's going to be hard to speak about what you're feeling when you haven't been able to speak about what you're feeling in a way that you felt was truly accepted and acknowledged. So I think there's a lot of that's coming out, I have to tell you about what my heart and soul needs, or else I'm never going to say it, or else it's never going to get fixed, and I have to fix it now, do or die. I think there is kind of that feeling for us. I have to fix this now. I have to make all these things work. A lot of the pressure's on do or die. Because I have to make things work, I got to say what's on my mind, whether you like it or not. It's going to upset me. I don't know how to say this. I'm upset. It's going to upset you because now you weren't expecting this, but I got to do it. I got to do it. And I think the struggle is going to be here how to speak with vulnerability about these things that we're so frustrated about. Not because we aren't. I think we are super vulnerable. And I think that's why it could bring the anger, because we are so sensitive and we're worried that our needs aren't going to get met. And so I think the biggest challenge of a lot of this stuff, especially with the Chiron involved, is how to speak about your needs with sensitivity and vulnerability so that arguments don't start and so that you don't let everything build up within you, and how to respond to other people's unexpected statements as well with sensitivity and vulnerability too, so that you can get to the core of the matter and really honor the emotional wishes of the people that you're involved with. Okay. Yeah, conversations are going to be huge. Another reason why conversations are going to be huge is not just because Mercury is in a conjunction with Mars, squaring Uranus, but Venus is coming into the last degrees of Gemini too. So I think this is going to bring lots of conversations with people, especially with people with relationships. Could be about money too. Could be about you, your value, your worth with Venus there involved. But I feel like we're kind of at a point in the astrology when we're saying, look, I don't want to compromise, especially with this new moon in a trine with Neptune. I don't want to compromise. My soul has needs. I need to feel at peace with my life once again. I need to be happy once again. I need to overcome these things in the past. And I tried to play nice, and I tried to go slow, to let these things from the past take care of themselves the best that I could. And it just hasn't happened, or some of it's happened, but not all of it has happened. And now I gotta make the harder decisions, and I gotta buckle down to really focus on what my values are, on what I need, on what makes me happy, and to get that. And in order for me to get my needs met, because all these other things aren't working, I'm gonna have to be more bold. More bold. I'm gonna have to take more risks, or figure out how I can be more bold and take more risks so that I can get it. I'm uncomfortable. I've never done this before, putting myself out there in this way, and maybe I put myself out there in this way, but it's never been received well before. I'm uncomfortable, but I really have to do it so that I can move on, and if not now, then in 6 months from now, put my life in a better place. And I think now we're starting to have these conversations that we need to speed the process along and to get it going. We're speeding the process along, you know, that's kind of how I feel. Becoming more impatient. You know, I think we're at that point. I can't wait anymore. I gotta tell you what I'm feeling. I gotta tell you what's on my mind. I gotta tell you what's going on. I think that's where we are. The Sabian symbols as well for this new moon aren't the easiest either. I guess I'll start with the inside degree. I found more interesting. The inside degrees says excruciating soul ordeals, severe tests and trials. So I think it's a lot of old stuff that's weighing on us that I don't want to say is coming back. I don't think they're coming back. I think that we're having to learn to stand up to. They're just hanging around, and we have to learn to stand up to them. And the other thing that the inside degrees says about 10 degrees Cancer is that we purposely submit ourselves and endure these tests and trials so that we can form ourselves to become and encompass anything, and to realize that we can take and handle anything. Transmuting karmic sequences. This is it. These next 6 months. You know, I feel like the first 6 months of the year, we were still trying to figure out where we wanted our life to go and what change we wanted to make. We were still scared to make a big change in our life. And I feel like this solar eclipse in Cancer, we're like, no more. No more can I be on the fence. No more can I be unsure about this change. I have to make a core commitment to get over this karmic stuff from the past. Even if it's hard, I have to submit myself to the hard things because I know that it's worth it, and because it's going to make me stronger on the other side. And because I'm going to do it. Another thing the inside degree, this one was really powerful for this one, said a core commitment to tackle the hard stuff with enough fury of intent to make the whole thing work. We're going to make the whole thing work. You know, it's like I've been making this change happen long enough. I got to make it work. I got to follow it through the end. I got to do the impossible. And that's what's going on here. Enduring lots of pressure so that we can come out on the other side as a diamond, 10 degrees, Sabian symbol. So it's here. You gotta get all your inner reserves, all your inner strength, so that you can get your needs met. Now your card for the eclipse is, I feel like I always get the same cards for all of these. You got the Empress reversed. My deck is now reversed. Well, all of it's not reversed, just some of the cards are reversed. This to me does have a lot to do with, well, the Empress, when it's upright, I think does have a lot to do with creating something beautiful that you really want, and nurturing kind of a new birth, a new life into your own life. New energy, new feelings, just, you know, totally wanting to give birth to something, or a rebirth in some way. And with the Empress to me upright, sometimes I think of this as like a creative block, or there's something in the way, a block. I'm trying to give birth to something. The Empress is the card with the pregnant woman, and I feel like what's happening here is we're feeling like there's a problem with the pregnancy, or the pregnancy is delayed, or we're feeling like there's just something standing in our way that's preventing us from having what we want. And I think this solar eclipse is saying you gotta knock through the brick wall. That's how sometimes I see Capricorn. It's like a big brick wall, you know, and it's necessary. You need brick walls, structures, boundaries to keep people out of your life. But with this point in time, with the North Node in Cancer, it's saying you got to break down the creative block. You got to break down the brick wall, and you got to find a way to do it. Sometimes you need to use force to knock down a brick wall. I don't know if there's any other way to do it, but I'm like thinking of all the Cancers. Maybe it's a mixed metaphor, but I'm like, sometimes force, maybe you need to use force to knock down a brick wall, but maybe you just need to love yourself to death and your situations to death so that the real stuff can come out of it. I mean, and the Empress is typically a card of like loving and nurturing, you know? You just gotta find a way to knock through the brick walls. whether that's taking these big risks to put yourself out there, or whether it's just like loving these situations, loving yourself so much that you're patiently waiting for it. You know, I don't even think we're patient anymore. I think we're getting impatient. We're trying to get over these things. We've got the 5 of Swords reversed on the bottom. Man, I'm still seeing, this to me is another card of fighting, winning at all costs, that I might see here. We're trying to figure out, maybe that's the message of what I'm trying to say, because I'm like, I don't know if I want to encourage fighting, which there could be some with the Mars, the Mercury, square Uranus. What I want to say here, you got to find ways to break down these walls, but you got to find ways to do it with integrity that not only get you what you need, but also honor yourself and honor others. And maybe there's some of us that are so frustrated right now. I think this is the message, that you want to fight, not fight, but that you want to force things to happen. And I think you need to not take no for an answer anymore and get the thing done that you need done. But I think there's another part of me that also wants to say, maybe these things that you think you have to fight for really don't need you to fight. What they really need is you just to open your heart and to connect with your heart and to be authentic and to be vulnerable and to show people what's inside. And maybe if you can just show people what's inside your heart, even if it's hard and takes a minute, then, and it's scary, I think that in the end is going to get you the best results, you know? If it's something that you really, truly, and deeply feel, you know, it's one of those things that are like, feelings are hard to argue about. You know, especially when you're, this is just thinking from personal experiences, but especially when it comes to interpersonal romantic relationships, you know what I mean? It's like, if you don't have feelings for me or I don't have feelings for you, like the conversation ends, you know? Like, there's nothing I can do. I can try to convince you, you know, X, Y, Z, I'm great because of this, I'm great because of that, but at the end of the day, you don't have feelings, you don't have feelings. So I think that's the part of it, is like, it's not about fighting for things, it's about opening up about your feelings. And once you're honest with people about what's going on inside you, then things are going to be made abundantly clear. Then I think a lot of decisions and choices are going to need to be forced to be made, because you're no longer hiding your feelings. And there's no need to fight for things. You expressing your feelings is going to move the energy in a way that's going to bring up these make or break situations to the forefront that will then need to be addressed. And even if they aren't going to be addressed all at once at this new moon solar eclipse, that will be addressed gradually over time in the next 6 months. All right. And to not be afraid to just be open about your heart, because it's your heart to heart connections that's going to shift the energy and bring things to a head so that they can ultimately be fixed, transformed, transmuted, and overcome, especially from the past. So that is your forecast for the new moon solar eclipse in Cancer. Thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you on the next video.